This is a life-threatening tornado.
So giving you a heads up now, you are under a tornado warning right now in Mayfield.
We're very, very concerned at this time for, again, Mayfield.
It is 9:25 p.m. on a Friday night, December 10th, 2021. The temperature is in the low 60s in Kentucky, and a tornado wider than a football field is heading directly for the center of Mayfield, a town of 10,000 people, most of whom are asleep or about to be. Inside the Mayfield Consumer Products candle factory, 110 workers are on the overnight shift. It is 2 weeks before Christmas. Demand is high. The building is full. Some of the workers had asked to leave hours ago when the first tornado warning was issued. They were told no. They stayed. In the next 4 minutes, the factory will collapse. 8 of those workers will not survive. And the tornado will not stop at the factory. It will not stop at Mayfield. It will track 165 miles across western Kentucky, through Princeton, through Dawson Springs, through Bremen, in a 3-hour rampage that becomes the deadliest December tornado in United States history. 77 people will die in Kentucky alone. The youngest is 2 months old. The oldest is 98. Tornadoes in December are supposed to be rare. They are not supposed to be violent, and they are absolutely not supposed to produce a supercell thunderstorm that maintains itself for over 550 miles across 4 states. But the atmosphere on December 10th, 2021 did not behave the way December is supposed to behave. Western Kentucky sits at the confluence of the Ohio, Mississippi, and Tennessee rivers, a low, flat region known as the Jackson Purchase, one of the most tornado-prone corridors east of the Mississippi. But the threat is almost entirely a spring phenomenon. The severe weather season runs from March through June. By December, cold air has typically locked in across the Ohio Valley, shutting down the instability that fuels supercell thunderstorms. 2021 was different. An unseasonably warm air mass had surged northward from the Gulf of Mexico, pushing temperatures into the 60s and 70s across the Mid-South. Dew points, a measure of atmospheric moisture, were running 20 degrees above normal for the date. The air felt like April, not December. The towns in the tornado's eventual path were small, working-class communities. Mayfield, population 10,000, was the seat of Graves County. Dawson Springs, population 2,600, was a former resort town that had been in economic decline for decades. Bremen, population 200, was little more than a crossroads in Muhlenberg County. None had the kind of below-ground shelter infrastructure common in the Western Plains. Basements were scarce, public safe rooms were scarcer, and the cultural expectation of a tornado striking in December was close to zero. The warnings had been coming for days. The Storm Prediction Center had flagged the severe weather potential nearly a week out. By Thursday, December 9th, it was clear. This was not going to be a typical December system. This was going to produce tornadoes, possibly violent ones, at night, in communities that did not expect them. The setup was textbook, except for the calendar. A powerful low-pressure system was ejecting eastward out of the southern Rockies, dragging a cold front across the plains. Ahead of the front, that anomalous Gulf moisture was streaming north in a low-level jet, a river of warm, wet air flowing at 50 to 70 miles per hour at around 3,000 feet above the surface. This jet was injecting fuel directly into the storm environment, pushing Cape values past 2,000 joules per kilogram across western Tennessee and Kentucky. For December, that number is extraordinary. It is the kind of instability typically seen in peak tornado season. Wind shear was equally extreme. Surface winds were from the south. Winds at 500 millibars, roughly 18,000 feet, were screaming from the west-southwest at over 80 knots. That deep layer shear, combined with strong, low-level directional shear, winds turning rapidly with height in the lowest few thousand feet, created an environment where any storm that formed would immediately begin to rotate. The SPC issued a moderate risk for severe weather across the Mid-South. At 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch, the most extreme watch category the SPC issues, was posted for portions of Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. The language was blunt. Significant, long-track tornadoes were possible. Some of them could be violent. By early afternoon, storms were already firing across central Arkansas. One cell in particular, born near Arkadelphia around 2 p.m., matured into a monstrous supercell that would persist for over 7 hours, tracking more than 550 miles across 4 states. It produced 11 tornadoes along its path. The 2 most significant, both rated EF4, were responsible for the majority of the deaths. The first EF4 formed in northeastern Arkansas and tracked through the Missouri boot heel and into northwestern Tennessee, killing people in Monette, Arkansas, and causing severe damage near Caruthersville, Missouri. Then, as the supercell crossed into Kentucky around 8:54 p.m., a second tornado formed. It would become the one history remembers. 8:54 p.m. Central Standard Time, December 10th, 2021. A tornado touches down near Woodland Mills in northern Obion County, Tennessee, just south of the Kentucky state line. It is already rotating violently. Within minutes, it crosses into Kentucky near the community of State Line and rapidly intensifies to EF4 strength. It strikes the small town of Casey at approximately 9 p.m. Homes are leveled. A school building is destroyed. A fire station is wrecked. 1 person is killed. The tornado continues northeast, carving deep scour marks into open fields between Fulton and Hickman counties. It parallels the Purchase Parkway and US 45, moving at roughly 55 to 60 miles per hour. It is heading directly for Mayfield. The National Weather Service office in Paducah issues a tornado emergency, a step beyond a tornado warning, reserved for confirmed, violent tornadoes threatening populated areas. It is a Friday night in December. Most people are home. Many are already in bed. Weather radios activate. Cell phones buzz with wireless emergency alerts. But this is December. Some people look at the alert and dismiss it. Others do not have weather radios at all. The tornado enters the southwestern edge of Mayfield at 9:25 p.m. The tornado crosses into Mayfield at near high-end EF4 intensity and does not weaken. It tears through residential neighborhoods first. Houses along Cardinal Road are leveled. Some are swept from their foundations entirely. Trees are debarked and stripped bare. Cars are thrown and mangled. The damage is systematic and total, block after block after block, as if a mile-wide eraser has been dragged across the map. 9:27 p.m. The tornado reaches the Mayfield downtown commercial district. This is the historic center of the city. Large, well-built brick buildings, some dating back more than a century. The tornado destroys them, not damages, destroys. Multiple-story brick structures are reduced to piles of rubble. 3 large churches are flattened. The Graves County Courthouse loses its clock tower, much of its roof, and sections of its upper walls. The city's fire station is destroyed. City Hall is destroyed. The police station is destroyed. The water tower is knocked over and smashed. The town's emergency operations center loses the ability to transmit radio communications. In the middle of the worst disaster in the county's history, first responders cannot talk to each other. 9:28 p.m. The tornado strikes the Mayfield Consumer Products Candle Factory. The factory is a large, metal-framed warehouse structure on the east side of the Mayfield bypass. Inside, 110 workers are on the overnight shift, making candles for the holiday season. Some are incarcerated workers from the Graves County Jail on work release programs, supervised by a deputy jailer. Hours earlier, when the first tornado warning was issued around 5:30 p.m., some workers had asked to leave. According to multiple employees who later filed lawsuits, supervisors told them they would be fired if they left. A second tornado warning was issued after 9 p.m. Workers asked again, and they said they were denied. The metal building collapses. The walls fold inward. The roof comes down. 100. Kyanna Parsons, 39, almost didn't go to work that night. A friend had called her on the drive-in and told her not to go, but it was 2 weeks before Christmas. She needed the money. She went. When the factory collapsed, Parsons was trapped under the rubble with her co-workers. The darkness was total. People were screaming. Parsons could feel debris pressing against her body, but she could move her arms. She decided to do the only thing she could think of to keep people calm. The next day, December 11th, was her 40th birthday. She told the people around her to sing "Happy Birthday" to her. They did. In the dark, under the wreckage of the factory, voices rose. It kept them awake. It kept them focused. It kept some of them alive. Parsons survived. Jill Monroe was from Oldham County. She was working at the factory that night. When the tornado hit, her co-workers later told her family Jill did not run. She ran toward other people. She pulled workers into the last bathroom stall and pushed them to the ground. She tried to cover them. Her co-workers last saw her shielding others with her body. Jill Monroe did not survive. Robert Daniel was a deputy jailer from Graves County. He was at the candle factory that night, supervising 7 incarcerated workers on a work release program. All 7 inmates survived. Robert did not. He was found in the rubble. Huda Alubahi was at home in Mayfield with her 2 sons, 3-year-old Jaleel and 1-year-old Julius. When the tornado warning came, she grabbed both boys and took cover in the bathroom. She wrapped her arms around them and held on. The house collapsed on top of them. The bathroom disintegrated. Neighbors pulled them from the debris. Julius, the 1-year-old, did not have a single scratch. Not one. Huda had a fractured skull and internal bleeding from a sink that fell on her head. Jaleel, the 3-year-old, did not survive. Huda later said she would trade places with him if she could. 30 miles to the northeast, the tornado reaches Dawson Springs at approximately 10:05 p.m. It has been on the ground for over an hour and has not weakened. Carol Grisham, 80, and her sister Marsha Hall, 72, are at home. Their house has no basement. The sisters decide to shelter in the hallway together. They have lived in Dawson Springs their entire lives. Both worked at the local funeral home, the Bashir Funeral Home, at different points in their lives, following in the footsteps of their mother. They greeted mourners, arranged flowers, and helped families through their worst days. Neighbors described them as pillars of the community, inseparable. Neither could imagine life without the other. Their bodies are found the next morning, together, 75 to 100 feet from where their house had stood. Their son and nephew, Jason Cummins, spent days gathering mementos from the debris. Carl Hogan, 60, is alone at his home in Dawson Springs. He is a retired truck driver who has spent the last several years caring for his wife after she suffered a stroke. His daughter, Katie Fields, lives a mile away. She tried to wake him, tried to get him to come to her house before the storm hit. She couldn't reach him in time. Carl Hogan is found dead in the wreckage. He is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and 4 grandchildren. In Muhlenberg County, Billy and Judy Miller, married for more than 50 years, are at home when the tornado arrives. Their bodies are found in the rubble, still holding on to each other. The tornado continues northeast. It strikes Bremen at approximately 10:45 p.m., causing severe damage. It finally dissipates in western Ohio County around 11:53 p.m. Central Standard Time, after being on the ground for nearly 3 hours and tracking 165.6 miles across 11 Kentucky counties. Meanwhile, a separate tornado from the same outbreak strikes Bowling Green, Kentucky, 120 miles to the east. On Moss Creek Avenue, in the Jennings Creek subdivision, the damage is concentrated and catastrophic. Stephen Brown, 35, and Rachel Brown, 36, have been in Bowling Green for 2 years. Stephen accepted a job offer that brought the family from elsewhere. They are with their children and Stephen's mother, Victoria Smith, 64. The tornado destroys their home completely. Stephen, Rachel, Victoria, and 4 of their children, Nariah, 16, Nolyn and Niles, 4, and a juvenile, are killed. 7 members of one family. Their 13-year-old daughter Nissa is missing for days before her body is found. She is the 7th. On that single street, 14 people die. 11 of them within a few blocks. 7 of them are children. 2 are infants. Oaklynn Kuhn is 2 months old. She is at her grandmother's house in Dawson Springs with her parents, Douglas and Jackie, and her 2 brothers. 11-year-old Bentley, who has autism, and 4-year-old Dallas. When the tornado warning comes, Douglas puts Oaklynn in her car seat and places the boys in the bathtub, covering them with couch cushions. He and Jackie crouch over them. The house is torn apart. The family is thrown across the street. They land on the other side of a neighbor's home. Douglas, injured himself, crawls through the debris, checking each family member. Everyone is alive, but Oaklynn has a brain injury. On the morning of December 13th, Douglas and Jackie make the decision to remove Oaklynn from life support. She is 2 months old. Douglas later says he did everything right. He followed every safety guideline. He put his daughter in a car seat. He covered his children. He held on. And it wasn't enough. The December 10th to 11th outbreak reaches approximately 90 across 5 states. It is the deadliest December tornado outbreak in American history. The deadliest tornado event of any kind since 2011. The victims range in age from 2-month-old Oaklynn Coon to a 98-year-old resident. 12 of the dead are children. In Mayfield, 22 people are killed. 8 die in the candle factory. The rest in homes, in cars, in buildings they thought would protect them. In Dawson Springs, the toll climbs through the weekend as search teams work through the rubble. Sisters who worked at the funeral home. A retired truck driver who cared for his wife. A school board member who served her district for 40 years. In Bowling Green, 14 people die on a single street. 7 of them from one family. 7 of them children. In Muhlenberg County, a couple married for half a century is found holding each other in the ruins of their home. At the candle factory, a deputy jailer dies protecting inmates who all survive. A woman from Oldham County dies shielding strangers. A survivor leads her co-workers in singing "Happy Birthday" in the darkness under the rubble because it is the only thing she can think of to keep them alive. The factory's company spokesperson later tells media that workers were free to leave at any time. 18 workers file lawsuits alleging the opposite. A federal judge allows defamation and false light claims to proceed. The factory never reopens. The Western Kentucky tornado was on the ground for approximately 3 hours, from 8:54 p.m. to 11:53 p.m. Central Standard Time. It tracked 165.6 miles across 11 counties, breaking the record for the longest tornado track in Kentucky history. The tornado was rated high-end EF4, with estimated peak winds exceeding 190 miles per hour. Some NWS analysts noted in case studies that damage in portions of Mayfield bordered on EF5 intensity, prompting renewed discussion about the enhanced Fujita scale and its damage-based rating limitations. The parent supercell, the quad-state supercell, maintains severe rotational velocity for over 4 hours and 20 minutes across a 550-mile path. Only 1.5% of all supercells produce that level of sustained rotation. Initial reports suggested the tornado was a single, continuous vortex across 4 states, which would have made it the longest-tracked tornado in history, surpassing the 1925 tri-state tornado. Subsequent NWS surveys determined the path actually consisted of 2 EF4 tornadoes, bookending 3 short-lived, weaker tornadoes in between. The quad-state designation refers to the supercell, not a single continuous tornado. Across the full December 10th to 11th outbreak, 69 tornadoes were confirmed across 10 states. Approximately 90 people were killed. Combined with other tornado fatalities earlier in the year, 2021 became the deadliest tornado year since 2011. The December 2021 outbreak forced a fundamental reassessment of seasonal tornado risk. December tornadoes were historically rare and weak, curiosities, not killers. This outbreak shattered that assumption. A supercell born in Arkansas in the early afternoon persisted until midnight, producing violent tornadoes across 4 states in a month that most people associate with snow. Climate scientists noted that the unseasonably warm, moist air mass that fueled the storms was consistent with patterns expected to become more frequent as global temperatures rise. The traditional tornado season may be widening. For Mayfield, the tornado prompted immediate questions about workplace safety during severe weather. The lawsuits against Mayfield Consumer Products alleged that workers were effectively imprisoned, told they would lose their jobs if they left during active tornado warnings. The factory never reopened. The site was razed and remains empty. The legal proceedings continued into 2023 and beyond, with a federal judge allowing claims of defamation and false light portrayal to proceed against the company. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear declared a state of emergency within hours. President Biden toured Mayfield and Dawson Springs on December 15th, pledging federal support and agreeing to cover 100% of debris removal costs. FEMA mobilized. The Red Cross established shelters. The National Guard deployed 450 members. But rebuilding a town that lost its courthouse, its fire station, its police station, its churches, and its downtown, all in 4 minutes, takes years. By 2025, signs of recovery were visible in Mayfield. New foundations, new businesses, a temporary memorial placed in the court square. But the empty lots remained. The candle factory site, the blocks where homes once stood, the gaps in the skyline where churches had been. Mayor Kathy Onan visited Louisville, Mississippi, which was struck by a devastating tornado in 2014, to learn how another small town rebuilt. The exchange illustrated a grim truth. There is now a community of towns that share this specific expertise in catastrophe. The NWS's Paducah office noted that the warning performance for this event was strong. Tornado warnings were issued well in advance. Wireless emergency alerts reached cell phones, and tornado emergencies were declared for multiple communities along the path. But the tornado struck at night, in December, in a region that did not culturally expect tornadoes at that time of year. Many residents did not have weather radios. Some slept through the alerts. Others dismissed them. The lesson was the same lesson Oaklynn learned in 2011, the same lesson Greensburg learned in 2007, the same lesson every community learns the hard way. The warning only works if you believe it. Photos of the 77 Kentucky victims hung on a fence outside the damaged Graves County Courthouse for weeks after the tornado. A 2-month-old, a 98-year-old, sisters who worked at a funeral home, a family of 7 on a single street, a deputy jailer who died so that 7 inmates could live, a woman who used her body as a shield in a candle factory 2 weeks before Christmas. Every year, the same ingredients can align over the same ground, at any time of year. December is no longer safe. No month is. The atmosphere does not read the calendar. It does not wait for spring. The only question that matters is whether you will act when the warning comes, because the next one will not care what month it is. Thank you for watching. Whether this is your first time here or you've been with us from the beginning, I appreciate every minute you spend with these stories. These stories take time to research, write, and edit. Every fact is verified. Every name is real. Every person mattered. If this story stayed with you, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, or sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support is what makes it possible to keep telling these stories, the way they deserve to be told. Every storm eventually ends, but the way we hold each other, that remains. Take care of one another. Stay alert, and I'll see you in the next one.